Hey, Fab Girls. Welcome back to my interview series on how to look fashionable over 40. And today I am speaking to Lydia Gobena, and she is a lawyer living in NYC, in New York City. She's originally from Ethiopia, but has lived in New York, as you'll hear from her accent, for many years. She also is an amazing jewelry designer. And I first met her on Instagram, taking note of the amazing outfits that she creates and the way she puts her jewelry together as her form of expression. So I'd love to hear more from Lydia. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Lovely to be here.
So tell me, Lydia, about how you started your jewelry collection.
So I've always made things with my hands, but I really sort of started it classes in soldering and everything back in 2001. I was actually supposed to start on September 11th, 2001, but unfortunately the classes got postponed. But I always had small hands and wrists, and so part of the problem was finding jewelry that I could wear. So it began as something very personal, but then after a while, there's only so much jewelry you can make, and it's taken on sort of a greater part of my life because I feel like as a lawyer, day to day, life can get quite stressful. As a mother, it can be stressful as well. So jewelry is really sort of my stress release, and it also enables me to sort of see things in a very different way, which I think helped me in all aspects of my life.
I think that's incredible. For ladies to know, we had a chat before the interview, and Lydia was just sharing on how that creativity really changes her everyday life. So Lydia, speak to me about why you think it's important for women to have a creative outlet of some kind.
Well, I think part of it is that, so much of our job day to day is being, meeting the needs of what we have to do for work. But I think the other part of our job life should be something that is for us. I feel like it's important to give of yourself, but I think it also helps you dealing with things conceptually. I think it also helps it helps me be a better lawyer creatively because I'm approaching the problem of making a particular jewelry design and maybe some construction involved, and that works a different part of your brain, and I think all of that helps you be a fuller person.
I hear that. And so tell us about your Instagram story, how you started to promote your range on Instagram, especially the way you put your outfits together. Because, that's what really struck me is that you're incredibly creative in the way you put your outfits together. And I personally found that quite inspirational.
So I've always had the Bureau Bureau Instagram account, but from the beginning, as a good trademark lawyer, I registered the name immediately when it became available. But, part of it was that I wasn't sure what I was doing with my jewelry. And there was a certain period of time where I was slightly quiet work-wise, which, was unusual. So I thought, well, why don't I start it? So I thought I'll start promoting it online. This will be a good way to get my jewelry out there. And, so I was doing these jewelry photos and everything. And, I wasn't sort of really gaining that many followers. It was a very slow process. So then I thought to myself, let me talk to Denton Taylor, who is, the photographer extraordinaire. He, has a lot of Instagram stars, older Instagram stars that he takes photos of. And I went to him and he was like, well, you know what, Lydia, you really love clothing and you love, you know, your jewelry. So why don't you bring it together? So fortunately, I have a very good husband who is willing to do that. And so I sort of approach every sort of session because I do the photos in sessions is like I sort of take it as a sort of theme. Like I will have certain pieces and I'll mix them together. But I put things together that sometimes I might not necessarily wear in my real life, but I sort of think it would be an interesting photo and also gives me other ways to explore my wardrobe because, I have a lot of clothes in my wardrobe, but it also gives me an opportunity to sort of try them in ways that I probably have not done before.
So it gives a sort of form of play for you in a way to express yourself and express different types of ideas.
Right. So, well, I think that's exactly it. I think my Instagram page is my dress up page. It sort of enables me to sort of like, okay, let me put these together and let me try to make them in a creative way. And then, of course, I always layer my jewelry. Generally speaking, I only wear my own jewelry in the photos. Sometimes I'll promote other people just if they're friends or other things. But really, I sort of try to sort of create like a sort of theme, like I want to feature my brass pieces today. So let me figure out something that works within that scheme.
Mm. So tell me, Lydia, being a lawyer, do you take quite a bit of flack for now? Well, you're supposed to be a lawyer and very conservative. Because I mean, in most cases, the legal arena is quite a conservative arena.
Well, I think I don't necessarily dress the way I do on Instagram, but I think people sort of know me. I'm in IP, so I do trademarks and copyrights, and it's so I work with a lot of creative people. So I think part of it is that I'm able to dress a little differently. You don't really wear suits. There's certain clients I will wear suits, and I will be very conservative for. But really, I think the thing is, I don't really necessarily promote my Instagram forays in one job, but at the same time, when I go to conferences, people know me for what I dress. And, people always say stuff to me. So, and I have certain followers also who are like colleagues that I work with around the world. So other lawyers. So, really, I don't get flack for it because of the fact that I think that, I'm at that point too, as we were talking about earlier about being over 40. I am who I am, but at the same time, I also work very hard for my clients. So that's, I think, the most important thing.
What I'm hearing, though, as well, Lydia, is that this has become your personal brand and this is what you're known for. And so, in
Mhm.
fact, to not dress in some of the ways, I mean, like even what you're wearing today, you've got this bold necklace on and you're wearing color, and to suddenly be dressing in a very drab suit. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it doesn't fit with your personal brand, and you've created a personal brand that says something about you. And so the consistency of that's actually quite important.
No, I think it is. I mean, I definitely think that there are certain times where it calls for the black suit, but I'll put a bow, like a bowed shirt with it or something, or I'll put like a ring, not necessarily this ring, but something a little smaller. But I will have elements. And frankly, when I started off as a lawyer, I used to have straight hair and I would wear my hair straight every single day. And there was a certain point where I sort of decided that, what, this is how my hair grows, like also to and that's who I am. But I think it's important to be who you are. We live in a world where we live in a very diverse world, like, and I think celebrating our diversity, whether it's all hairstyles, shapes, dress styles, I think all of that is very important.
Mm.
And I think also, like, for Instagram, like, I'm not the skinniest person, so one of the things I want to say to people is, like, wear the clothes and be who you are, because that's the only person you're going to be.
Absolutely. And I think, not to wait until you get to where you want to be, or, that you look like somebody else to really truly express yourself, but to do it right now, the way you are now, is actually really important.
Right. I mean, you definitely have to, like, fulfill certain sort of, like, in your work life, certain, like, not dress codes, but certain things. But I think at the same time, I think color is very important. And I think that, like, for me, I used to wear black a lot, and I just sort of decided it doesn't make me happy. In fact, actually, if I'm really upset, I will wear the brightest colors ever because that's what cheers me up.
I can relate a lot to what you're saying, Lydia, because I do quite a lot of corporate work. I work with individual clients, but then I also do corporate work. And definitely the way I dress changes according to who my clients are. I work with law firms, so I'm not
Right.
going to wear my brightest, most boldest, most colorful, and trendiest items, but I
Mhm.
still will wear something that represents who I am, just a little bit more toned down, that's suitable for the
Exactly.
occasion. So I think it's about learning how to adapt in
Mhm.
different circumstances, but still be ourselves.
Well, it's true. I think that's fundamentally it. So, am I going to wear my hair really crazy big at work? Not necessarily, but I will wear it in a curly way. I'm wearing this top, but I'm wearing like a black skirt. If you saw like the whole outfit, so there's a certain way of like sort of toning it down, but also just being you. I mean, I think that I think the rules of how we should dress has sort of fallen by the wayside. I mean, I know a lot of, even like in the US firms, a lot of people don't wear suits every day, So part of it is the fact that, I don't even own, when I go to conferences, for example, I wear dresses, and it's sort of like I have one black suit that I wear, when I need to, but otherwise, really, I just sort of wear dresses, and that's sort of my uniform. But at the same time, it shows who I am.
Yes. Lydia, I completely agree with you because I also work with companies and help them develop dress code policies because a lot of
Mhm.
times there is a lot of confusion about what is and is not appropriate for work, especially as the young people enter into the workforce and they're coming from a different generation. And, even fairly conservative firms in conservative areas of business are not what they used to be. I think in the 80s and early 90s, women felt that we needed to dress like men in order to be taken seriously. We needed to
Mhm.
power dress and wear the shoulder pad. You remember those shoulder
Right,
pads?
yes, I do completely. But people still
the
would wear like a
pirate
red suit.
a red suit and court shoes and like pantyhose,
Right.
that kind of thing. And we had to wear that type of thing to be taken seriously. But I think with more women coming into the workplace, more women going up the ranks of, as far as professional level is concerned, women are working with women. And I think that even men are at a point where they don't want to necessarily have to wear a tie every day. And so the rules are changing. And with that does come some level of responsibility because we do need to use our own initiative in deciding what is suitable for work and
Mhm.
what isn't suitable. But at the same time, it gives us freedom to be who we are because after all, who we are makes us good what we do, right?
Right. No, and I think that's what makes you happy, like really being yourself. I can't remember what her title is. There's a woman from Uber. I think is she the CFO? She inspires me in so many ways. I mean, because she is like this very powerful Black woman and unapologetically so. And I think, I look at her and I think that's what people should be. Like, you look at all these other people, like even if you look at Oprah Winfrey and other people, like they dress, they don't dress in a outlandish way, but at the same time, they don't put the cookie cutter mode. And I think that's also, I think you have to have a certain degree of having your personal brand because you have to make yourself stick out. Like, I mean, that's in a way, I think that's part of it is like whether it's on Instagram or in real life, I want people to know me I want them to know, like in my work, of course, that I'm very smart, but the other part of it is that that's who I am. So if I go to a conference, people will know me because I have my own personal brand.
With your jewelry and that ring. I have to have that ring. It's
Yes.
just so beautiful. So tell
Yeah.
me, so Lydia, tell me where do you get your inspiration from your outfit? So if you're going to, I mean, I understand the idea of block photographing because I block film for my YouTube channel. It makes it much easier that way. But when you go into your closet and you're going to decide what you're going to do, what's your inspiration?
Well, it depends on like what I want to feature, right? So yesterday, it hasn't gone on Instagram yet, but like yesterday's series was all like I bought this great dress that I from Zara that I that's like animal print. So part of it was like this animal print dress, and that sort of just took on all sorts of different things. So then I started like looking at like jackets and like vests, and then also because I don't do a lot of like I will stand outside in the cold for 30 30 minutes not wearing a coat. But in this instance, I wanted to like feature this jacket that I bought from Karen Groner, who's this great designer in New York. So part of it was like I was like, I'm going to do her jacket, and that sort of evolved. So basically, I take a few pieces. I sort of decide like, well, what have I not worn? Because I tried to change it up. Of course, like I shop probably a little too much, but really it's just sort of like I will find that one piece I want to start off with. Or I did a whole series with this pink tulle skirt, like which I love from J. Crew. It's just sort of like fluffy and everything else like that. But I tried to find ways of making it different. So like or the fact it turned out like I love to make a lot of pieces out of felt balls. So like I had this pink felt ball necklace. So then that sort of evolved. So basically I sort of just find the one piece, and then my room becomes a disaster as I take everything out to sort of figure out how I want to put it all together. But really I tried to do it also in a very creative way because as I said before, it's like I play dress up when I do my Instagram account.
So it sounds like, Lydia, you start with one piece
Mhm.
and then you grow it from there.
Exactly. And then the shoes are usually an afterthought, but but it's sort of like I really try to find the one item. So, or if I bought, or the other way sometimes it will work is like I made something new that I'm excited to show off. So then I try to find a way to show it off, whether it's like necklace and everything else like that. But really, I sort of try to play with patterns. I'm not the best necessarily at mixing patterns, but I do like to mix patterns together or yeah, I mean, I really do. Unfortunately, kicked out my husband with from our closet in our bedroom, so I have two big closets to play from.
So tell me, speak to me about your collection and what inspires you to create these amazing pieces.
So, I mean, I think a lot of it is I don't make very perfect jewelry. Like I call it imperfectly perfect jewelry because part of the fact is I think that I sort of get inspired either by like a stone, because I usually go to a stone show in March or April of every year that I spend a lot of money at, or I play with like sort of organic shapes. So, for example, like this necklace I'm wearing sort of started a whole series. I have done earrings, I've done rings, and part of it is that it was inspired sort of like also by the world, because I feel like right now the world is a little chaotic, and so the scribbles sort of remind me of like the chaos of the world, but how out of that chaos you can create something that you perceive to be, I perceive it to be beautiful. And so this necklace was inspired by that, you know but I really try to do things that are sort of not your run of the mill, or I add like something a little quirky to it, because I love that. The other thing that for a while I was, and I'm still continuing this phase because I'm going to start doing an oval necklace that's about to like I'm about to finish, but I was very interested in geometric shapes, so I did a lot of things with squares and rectangles, and they become a lot more difficult to sort of create because you have to make sure you do the lines, because I do all the soldering and everything myself.
Sure. I've done a jewelry. I did a very short jewelry course and gave up very quickly because it's not an easy thing to do.
I love it.
You've got to really love it. Yes, absolutely. So tell me, Lydia, let's talk a little bit about your background. So you're originally from Ethiopia, and how
Mhm.
has that background influenced your creative process and your creative influences?
Well, I mean, yeah. So I was born in Ethiopia. I came to the States when I was 2. I think part of it is like everything about Ethiopian jewelry is very ornate. If you look at the Ethiopian crosses, for example, there's tremendous amount of work that goes into them, and there's a tremendous amount of beauty. I think a lot of my sort of pieces are inspired by them. Biro Biro is an Ethiopian word. A lot of the names of my pieces are taken from either Amharic, which is one of the Ethiopian language is spoken, or Oromia, which is my ethnic group's language. I take those and name them. So, I did a whole series with like little circles, and they reminded me of the bubbles that come out of Wendo Gunnet, which is a hot spring. And so that was sort of an inspiration from the pieces. I did, even my rectangular pieces remind me of like the obelisk, in Ethiopia. Like, it doesn't quite look like that, but there's something about that, because I think that having that, being from a place which, you know, people are very creative. Like if you look at the paintings, and, I actually, and everything's sort of like ornate, or even the clothing and the embroidery. I mean, I was actually at church, unfortunately, the other day for a sad moment. One of my close family friends had passed away, but I was looking at the priests during the service. And if you look at how even the priests dress, and like just the gold and the richness, there's something about it, which is why I think I tend to play a lot with brass as well.
Mm. So it sounds like even though you've lived in the States since you were 2, the influences, the fact that you were born there, the fact that your parents are Ethiopian, that has brought about an interest and a richness in the culture that you bring with you as a
Completely. And I
designer.
mean, we go back. Yes. And we go back. I mean, the thing is, we left before the Ethiopian Revolution. So we were one of the first, we were very lucky because we were able to go back and forth when other people had to leave and could not go back. I also, we were there about 3.5 years ago as well. So, we try to go back every 3 to 5 years, because I think also for my children, it's important for them to sort of understand their culture, because I think that, it's something that I think to be proud of, like, and it's a place full of history.
Mm, I think that's amazing. So Lydia, what are your top styling tips for women over 40?
Well, I believe in accessories, of course. So I think it's really important to accessorize. I think that you should dress how you feel, what makes you happy. Everyone says you shouldn't wear this or you shouldn't wear that. I don't think there should be any do's or don'ts, but I think that you should dress in the way that makes you happy. I don't think there are really rules, but I think it's always worthwhile to add a little bit of color if you feel comfortable. But of course, there's like Leanne Zimmerman. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram. She almost always wears black and white. And, she has all her whole wardrobe, or a lot of her wardrobe is that. And I always admire her because she can make black look so amazing, and what she does. So part of it is, I think you have to sort of get what makes you comfortable, and then that's how you should dress. I don't think you should dress for other people. I think you should dress for yourself.
Mm. And tell me, Lydia, the most important question I ask all my interviewees this question. It's very important. Are you bracing yourself?
All right, I'm bracing.
What do you do for fun besides your collection?
What do I do for fun? Well, I have two daughters, so we like to do lots of creative things. So we love to do art projects. So actually, yesterday, for example, we're doing the Easter Day parade. So we were getting flowers and cutting them up and putting them on felt and sewing and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, we live in New York City, which I think is one of the best places in the whole world. So so we go, to museums. We go for walks, and those are really sort of the things that I do for fun. And I really try to make things fun for my daughters when we have time.
Sounds amazing. Now, I happen to know that you are 47, right? Because I
Mhm.
saw the picture on Instagram with
Yes.
you. Forever Fierce. The girls, ladies, for those who don't know, there is this amazing Facebook group called Forever Fierce, started by Catherine Grace. And I saw Lydia in a photograph. They had a meetup recently in New York City, and they all had these amazing T-shirts with their ages printed on them. And they did this little video where they flashed open. It was so very cute. So if you haven't seen it, you've got to check out Lydia's page. But so Lydia, being 47, what would be your secret to your vitality and your looking and feeling fabulous and staying youthful? Because I mean, you look amazing.
Well, I think it's like I walk. We were talking about it earlier. Like I try to walk 2 miles to work a lot of the time. I don't exercise other than that because I really don't have the time. I drink lots of water. I'm not going to say I'm like the healthiest food wise, but somehow it sort of worked. But I try to do something that makes me happy. I actually really do think that having my creative outlet is really sort of what makes me sort of really balanced as a person.
I can relate to that because for me, I mean, I do quite a few creative things, but dancing is one of those things that I just have to do. And I notice the difference in my body when I don't make time to do that. It's a creative outlet that nothing else does. Dancing does what nothing else does for me. So I think it is about finding that creative outlet, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about painting a picture or designing a garment, or it's much bigger than that. It's just something that really feeds your soul.
No, completely. I think that actually, I find like cooking is a very creative outlet. People who love to cook, I think that there's something to be said about that. I mean, I think even like decorating your room, or there's all sorts of things. And as we said, like I get to play dress up on Instagram, and it's like lots of fun, and that feeds that element as well. But I think it's like finding the thing that makes you sort of happy, and finding the thing that makes you sort of feel proud of yourself.
Absolutely. Lydia, you have been fantastic and you are so inspirational. So thank you so much for your time. So Fab Girls, tell me, I'd love to hear in the comments below, what did Lydia say that really resonated with you and really inspired you? Also, if you would like to be in touch with her, which I highly recommend that you do, I will put all the links to her details below. So her Instagram account, so you can follow her Etsy account where she sells her beautiful jewelry. Listen, I'm coming to New York soon, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of the collection.
Oh, that would be great.
But if you're not close by, ladies, then check out her Etsy account because her stuff is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's really coming from a place, a heart place where she just loves what she does. So I love the fact that we can support artisanal products and people who are really stepping out and making things that are unique. So Lydia, thank you so much for your time. And Fab Girls, I'd love to hear from you what you thought of this interview. And if you don't want to miss out on further inspirational interviews to come, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And ladies, hit that little notification button. So next to the subscribe button is a little bell button. That means that you will be notified every Tuesday and Friday when I upload new videos. Till next time.
Thank you so